So today we're going to talk about LinkedIn ads benchmarks. So basically that means if I'm running LinkedIn ads, how do I know how I'm doing compared to others? What are the standards? So the best resource that I've probably found so far around this is this one here, the B2B house. And there's the page on there, LinkedIn ad benchmarks. And this is a really good resource. So it's just the b2bhouse.com. And you can go find their LinkedIn ads benchmarks. So going through the basics, the 0.4 is what we have found to be the average click-through rate. So they break it down by text ad, dynamic. So this is actually a really good breakdown. So I wouldn't even try to just aggregate our own data. It seems like they have done a much better job than I could have. So I would recommend this, but I will go through and I'll also share some of our experience too. So it breaks it down by image here or by type. There's what's the average cost per click. And what I like here is it is so hard to answer that question for the individual people because every single industry is different. Who you're targeting is different. How active they are on LinkedIn, the value of that target, and then your industry, and then pair that with your actual creative copy, offer, website, how well you are known in the market. So this does a good job of attempting to break it down by industry types. This one's by senior, junior. And so I would recommend this resource here. There's even a difference between obviously functions and job title, seniority. And the biggest benchmarks that we see is the click-through rate is usually 0.4 is the industry standard. Cost per click, that can really go. These look actually really low. These cost per click. I would say for most, I don't know if they are actually including the audience network in that to get cost per click at that level. We see a lot of clients in the B2B space that are starting with $10, $20, even $30 cost per click that need to get optimized down. So maybe this is just like an average. I don't think there's like a continuity. There can't be an equal footing here where everyone's either these are just specifically on LinkedIn and the audience network and expansion is off. I believe for this data to be anything that has to be including audience network. We find that the benchmarks for cost per click is I would say $10, $15, $20, depending on industry for cold traffic. And then these also might be closer representation if you're including retargeting traffic. So there's a big difference of putting ads in front of someone who's never been to your website, never interacted with your ads, and you're trying to get their initial first time interaction and click. And then there's a massive difference between that and retargeting people that have gone to your company page, visited your website, and that usually drops the cost per click by 2 to 3x and improves the click-through rate. So it doesn't have a lot of context with that. So I would say that's something that you should probably be looking at. Same with CPM. So what I would say is that you need to probably look for some relevant B2B case examples that best fit you. But you're probably going to have to take the industry standard. So do look through this and take a look, but take that with a grain of salt because that includes some that are running purely on LinkedIn and some that are running with the audience network, which will drive the cost down. Some are running pure cold, while some are heavy on the retargeting, and that will bring the cost down. So if you're looking at these averages and these benchmarks and you're then running your first campaign and your 90-day benchmarks are wildly different, then that is okay. You do need to look at a few things. So what I'm going to show you here is a few of the things that will affect those benchmarks. So it's when you look at, let's just look at this one. When you look inside of here and you actually look in your campaign and you go to the audience, if you allow it to expand, that's going to weaken the strength of the ads and the targeting, but it's going to improve your click-through rate and cost per click. And if you allow it to use the audience network, which, is right here. I have mine allowed. So it's using the audience network. But I've put a big list of exclusions of places that it's not allowed to use it. That will dramatically change your click-through rate and your cost per click. But what we find is that the average cold cost per click is usually 10, 15, 20, even up to $30 for the cold layer. You need to run with that for probably a month or two, get into retargeting. In the first 30, 60, 90 days, if you're just running the cold campaign, then you need to look for ways to bring your cost per click down. Usually the best way to do that is if there's opportunity to expand your search group, then do that, because that will drive it down if it has more options. If there's a chance to use the audience network, but heavily curate it so that if your group is not active on LinkedIn, there's a chance you could target those same users off the platform, but make sure that you keep a monitor on if it's spending more of it on LinkedIn or off LinkedIn so that you can have a healthy balance there. And look at maybe doing manual bidding. So for the cold, it might start at 15, 20, 30, but you can bring that down once you get enough data. So get the LinkedIn Insights tag, build your retargeting audiences. Once you get enough data to start retargeting, that shifts some of your budget over. So maybe you have 60-40 or 70-30. So you have the majority still going cold to the cold layer, dropping prospects in the top of the funnel, and then maybe a third of your budget or a quarter of your budget going to retargeting, where you start nurturing those. That will overall improve your cost per click, because those cost per click on the retargeting layer will be extremely lower than the cold. So over time, you really have to look at this as a fluid, changing, momentum building process, because it's not, this is the industry standard. I set up a LinkedIn campaign. This is what I'm running. This is crazy. It's this ongoing momentum building fluid thing that's different for every business and different for every industry. But the big thing is benchmark yourself where you start, mark the improvements, and know where the stages are that are meant to improve. When you hit retargeting, you are meant to improve your cold campaigns cost per click and click-through rate and drive quality traffic at less and less clicks. And there's tools you can use to do that. Shifting spend into retargeting, adding in different layers will bring down the overall spends cost per click and start converting that traffic that you initially paid all that money for. So it is an ongoing process. Watch more on the retargeting strategy videos to see how to best do that. But that's what I would say when you're looking at these benchmarks. Yes, those are the average benchmarks of cost per click and click-through rate, but with context.